欢迎来到生活。
What was that?
That's bad Mandarin for welcome to China because we're in Shanghai, baby. Welcome to the Viva La Grid podcast, episode 4, Chinese Grand Prix preview.
All right, I didn't know you were practicing Chinese.
Yeah, instead of practicing Spanish for the last 6 months, I've just been practicing Mandarin the whole time.
Makes total sense that you haven't completely learned any Spanish in the past few months.
It explains a lot of our Mexico trip.
It seems like it.
But anyway, we're back.
We're back.
Race week number 2.
Yes. Can I just take a minute to say this whole season is already going way too fast for us?
Yeah, well, trying to produce content at a rapid clip and then the week going by as quickly as it does.
I mean, we still have day jobs, so.
So I guess we'll be a little excited when there's a break next week. But yeah, we're here in Shanghai, not literally, but
in spirit.
In spirit, and there's a lot to be excited about. The Chinese Grand Prix, we were unfortunate when COVID happened. We missed it for a few years, and when we first started watching Formula One, we didn't even get to see the Chinese Grand Prix, so we had no frame of reference until 2024, only to realize that most of the time there's Chinese Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton's winning the race.
Yes, even last year he was the one that won the sprint race.
Yeah.
So all we can say is that he's gonna be good.
And the car's good.
Yeah, it seems like China is actually like a good luck charm for Lewis. So.
Yeah, I know at one point he said I think flew straight in from Australia to China. And so you can tell he's ready to get back here and ready to put that Ferrari to work.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. And you guys, just for a little knowledge, we're actually filming this today right before practice and the sprint qualifying too. So we have no idea how these drivers are going to perform or literally how the sprint is going to go. So
yeah, so take our predictions with a shot of vodka.
But hey, we know some stuff, so maybe we get lucky and actually we know the good predictions for this specific race weekend.
With that said, let's go ahead and dive into your gossip and news around the paddock heading into the race.
Yeah, if you listened to our last episode, we're still in March, so we're still celebrating International Women's Month. And one thing that is happening in this specific race weekend is the F1 Academy opener.
Yeah.
So they're going to be doing the first race at the Shanghai track. And we have 11 new rookies for the F1 Academy. How incredible is that?
It's going to be crazy to watch. I'm sure these races are always pretty hectic anyway. And 11 rookies on the grid, 17 girls in total.
Yeah.
6 teams. And so there's going to be a lot of action. And I know the girls are definitely ready to get out there and show off.
Yes, they show basically what they're all about. But just like what you mentioned, it's a lot happening this specific race weekend. Not only the sprint race, of course the race as well, and now the F1 Academy as well. So that is one part of my gossip for the week. But also touching on F1 Academy, Sephora is joining F1 Academy as their official retail beauty sponsor. So how cool
Sephora
is that?
is what, a makeup brand? What is that?
Yes, you should know that because, well, I don't know if you know, because every time I walk in there, you kind of just walk out.
I think I'm usually either staying in the car or maybe going somewhere, going to the bookstore.
No, you usually just
something.
you usually just kind of like, hey, I'm just gonna go sit down and find me whenever you're done. So yes, Sephora is entering the chat and they're ready to glam up Formula One. They're actually gonna be doing some glam bars around the paddock for this season, and they're gonna be doing some activations around the Grand Prix. But the big deal for this specific partnership is that they're actually coming in and sponsoring one of the teams. So they're sponsoring Natalia Granada. She is a Spanish driver, and they're gonna have this beautiful Sephora car, black and white, like today's outfit. So that is going to be quite exciting to see at F1 Academy. And who knows, maybe later on in the coming years, we'll see more retailers like Sephora coming in and try to sponsor any other teams around F1 Academy, such as how Charlotte Tilbury did last year. If you didn't know, last year, Charlotte Tilbury, which is a very well-known makeup brand.
I was about to ask.
Well, she's very famous. She actually sponsored one of the cars, and she was one of their probably beauty sponsor for last year. But this year they're having, they step down and they're not actually sponsoring a team this year, but they're still involved in F1 Academy by providing scholarships within the British Indoor Championship, I believe. So anyways, that is one of the biggest news in F1, especially for women in motorsports. But the hot gossip, if we really want to move forward with this for this specific week, the big chisme that I have is that a certain driver has broken up with his girlfriend. Can you guess who?
Carlos.
It's not Carlos. They're still quite strong, and
That's because he's a smooth operator.
exactly. They have a little bit more of a approval rating than this specific couple that just broke up. I am talking about Lando Norris and his girlfriend Maggie.
Hey, when you're a world champion, life comes at you fast.
That's what they're saying, is it because this season is all about staying focused, or was it too much, or I don't know. But that is the news. They're no longer together.
There's something in the water right now. You got Lando Norris. You have Prescott.
Yeah.
Or people out here in Dallas. You have Luka Doncic.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's
Keep
something.
keep your loved ones close.
Yeah, and happy for sure.
So that means I guess this is our last podcast episode.
I'm gonna say we're really putting too much time and effort into this. We're filming this again at 9:30 p.m. So we'll see when this ends. But yeah, they're over. It seems like that relationship has failed. And actually, I did saw her posting some like reels throughout the whole like Australian race weekend, and I was like, oh my god, she looks so pretty, because I mean she is gorgeous. But I noticed that she wasn't actually in Australia.
So maybe she's still holding out hope, or
No, I'm just saying that she was probably posting some tentative or cryptic TikToks out there. But that's what I noticed. And again, usually when she's in the paddock, during race weekend, she's basically on TV the whole time. So this time she wasn't. And it seems like this is the whole reason why.
that would explain it.
Yeah, so that is the chisme that I have for the week.
So now that we're done with your gossip here, let's get into kind of what's going in the paddock, the word in the paddock. And I guess to start off, the drivers aren't overly happy still with the cars.
Yeah, I mean, it's only week 2. It's literally the second race of the season. I think they did learn quite a lot last race, and we're about to see basically what changes they have done to see exactly if this race is a little bit better.
I think it'll probably be a little bit better, but I don't think many changes have been made. I know the drivers have overwhelmingly voiced their concerns about safety, their issues with the car, the fact that the racing is awful.
There's no racing.
I know Max came out today and said that in preparation for the Grand Prix, he got off of the simulator and got onto the Nintendo Switch and was playing Mario Kart. You've had Checo come out now and say that it's just fake racing, and Formula One has changed a lot since he's been out, this little time that he's been gone. Leclerc has made comments. Esteban Ocon has made comments. Of course, Lando Norris said we went from the best cars to the worst cars.
Yeah.
So the overwhelming sentiment is that the drivers aren't happy, and I think the FIA has taken that into consideration, and changes are going to be made sooner rather than later.
Well, that's really good. At the end of the day, we're here to watch these drivers race.
Yeah.
And if they cannot race in these cars, what's the point of the sport?
Or if, I know we touched on it last podcast, but if the drivers aren't able to actually show their racecraft, be on the limit, and it's just using boost and overtake just to be overtaken again. They're not getting the best from themselves, and F1's not getting the best out of the drivers. This sport was built on fast cars, incredible engines,
Talent.
great talent, the best of the best drivers. And it just seems like right now the regulations and the cars aren't maximizing that talent. So
I mean, and it kind of shows to say people or some of these drivers are actually finding some other outlets to show their talent.
that's a good segue into the next bit of news. And this one's a really cool one. The car is insane.
I love that car. It is incredible.
But Max Verstappen is going to actually be next week racing in an NOS race. And in May, he's going to be in the Nürburgring racing the 24 hours in the green hell of the Nordschleife.
That is incredible.
And yeah, when you think about a 24-hour race, obviously there's multiple drivers on the team. It's going to be a Mercedes AMG GT3 car. The car is going to be Red Bull liveried. So I know.
How many drivers are there? Like 4?
There's going to be 4 drivers. Yeah. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think it's going to fall close to my birthday.
There you go.
It should be cool. And I know it's only been one race, and Max was announcing it right after the within 24 hours
24 hours.
Australian Grand Prix. And that kind of just says it all. He's having to look at other avenues to find fun in racing and enjoyment in racing and not being fulfilled. One of my bold takes that I didn't mention before the season started was that could we see Max Verstappen pursue different racing genres outside of Formula One? And if it continues down this path, he's obviously got many interests outside of Formula One. I could see it happening.
Yeah. Do you think it's just him actually, like what he's doing right now, where he's racing for Formula One and then going and racing for these other like teams or different type of racing? Or is he actually looking to retire from Formula One?
Well, when you think about it, he's a 4-time champion. So I think he's reiterated this or iterated this, that he's completely content with what he's already done in his career and everything else. Of course, he wants to be the best and win every race, but he's already accomplished so much. So he's just had a baby. He has his family. I don't think he's going to give up racing anytime soon, but yeah, I could see him pursuing different
what I've
racing
been
genres.
noticing for the past, like at least just this season that since it started. And of course, we're seeing him come up and talk to the press and everything. And I can just go back and remember the first time that we got to see him and his personality and attitude that he used to have back in the day to the attitude that he has now.
There's been a maturation process.
Yes, no, he has completely changed. But I can completely see him being like, yes, he already accomplished basically the dream that he always worked for his whole life. And now he's looking to go and basically do that in other like racing teams to the point that I can see him going through every single like racing type of like he can go to IndyCar, he can do I don't know what is Carlos that does.
He does, I think, rally or something.
Yeah, I can just see him go to all these different types and just do the whole season and try to win that season and keep just achieving like winning every season in every sport.
The thing is with him, he's so talented, and I mean, to me, he's the best driver in the world in any class. I think he is able to pick things up so quickly that nothing would surprise me when it comes to Max Verstappen. Just look at when he had a GT race last year and ended up doing incredibly. I think his brain operates in such a way and he understands cars so well that he's going to be able to just kind of pick up anything really quickly. So.
And with that, just how you're just mentioning that he works in a different way and he can pick up different things. I know that he has mentioned for this season that he doesn't like the car. We obviously saw what happened to him during qualifying last race. However, we know that the Red Bull car, it's competitive. And now that, even though he might not like the car because now he has to do all these things so he can race, I cannot wait to see exactly what the car can do in this upcoming race.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because we saw him starting from the back and he clearly had pace. He mowed down half the field in the first 10 laps of the race, and that was with a start that he had where he didn't even have any battery.
Yeah.
So he wasn't even able to bypass a whole lot of people at the start. He could have even made more ground up at the very beginning. I think the Red Bull's fast, and if he puts in a good qualifying session, him starting at the front or near the front is going to make the others a little nervous. It's not
Yeah.
going to be as easy for the McLarens or the Ferraris or the Mercedes. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely agree. And kind of to revert back to what you were saying about the maturation process of Max, seeing him in a completely different light, even with the interviews and the fact that a lot of the younger drivers look up to him so much and basically are always trying to pick his brain, always spending time with him. I know Bortoleto is that way. Ollie Behrman, the way he's talked about him, Hadjar now.
Yeah.
You've got all these young drivers who have seen Max, mature and become like a older brother to an
Right.
extent. Seeing Max embrace that has been really refreshing,
Yeah, for sure.
especially when he got such a bad rep. When we first started watching
Yeah.
with the whole Hamilton and Verstappen duel, fans were pretty split on that.
Yeah.
And it caused a lot of division within
Yeah.
Formula One. You had to pick a side. It was like Democrats and Republicans type thing there. But Max has really come a long way. And he's always going to tell it like it is. And I
Well, that's
really
what it
respect
is. He
that.
has always been that way, but it's just like a thing when you're young and you set your boundaries or you just try to show off that you're just all about racing and that's all you care about. People always try to like place you in a different way. And I think he also, that whole thing with Drive to Survive, which we know he is not fond of, they were also at different mats when it came to Drive to Survive. And for most people, that was like the first impression of him.
Right.
And that was basically not him at all.
Yeah. I think he's matured a lot, but he's also remained the same in a lot of ways.
Right.
And that's really refreshing.
Yeah.
So this isn't a Max Verstappen podcast. We like him quite a bit, but let's go to the next bit of news, and that's the Aston Martin Honda drama.
Oh,
So obviously
it's
the Aston,
fitting.
the Aston Martin hasn't gotten off to a great start, and it's partly because the Honda power unit has been really bad. From a reliability standpoint, they haven't trusted the power unit to even complete the full number of laps in a race,
Yeah.
let alone even practice and testing sessions. So there was a little bit of a rift already, and then over the past week since the Australian Grand Prix, there's been a back and forth between the higher ups of Honda, Adrian Newey, of course, Lawrence Stroll can't be happy.
Right.
And there have been a lot of rumors circulating that Aston Martin is going to be considering ditching Honda.
So they're divorcing.
They're not divorcing yet,
Yes.
but it does seem like if things persist and continue this way, that Aston Martin might be looking for a new engine supplier. And who knows? I mean, maybe Mercedes.
Can that happen in such a like,
I don't think that can, obviously that can't happen in season.
Yeah.
Or at least I don't think so. That
Yeah.
would be insane. And so I think Aston Martin's just going to have to kind of reap what they sow and deal with this season, and then maybe cut bait with Honda. But it's not off to a great start for Aston Martin and Honda. So that's terrible. But with that said, let's dive into the Shanghai circuit for the Chinese Grand Prix.
all right.
Now, obviously, like we said, from 2020 to 2023, you were not able to see the Chinese Grand Prix because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so we didn't really have a ton of exposure to the track.
Right.
But the track is going to be roughly 5,400 kilometers, 56 laps. I know it's usually considered a high degradation track, so it eats up the tires quite a bit. Usually it's a two-stop race.
Okay.
And a lot of times nowadays they can usually do a medium and then go on to a hard, or even a soft tire to a hard, and usually go the majority of the race, if not the whole race. But this is going to eat up the tires quite a bit, and there's going to be high deg. So you're probably going to see 2 pit stops in this race. The layout mimics a Chinese symbol that I think stands for ascend or upwards.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah,
No
that's pretty cool,
design.
yeah.
And basically, the way that this track works, or how it's worked over the last decade, is usually the person on pole ends up winning the race. So it has a high pole to win conversion rate. So whoever gets on pole in this race, which we will be predicting a little bit later on, probably has a high chance of winning the race. So
have that in mind.
Come on, Charles Leclerc. But overall, the track has some sweeping high-speed corners. It's got a long back straight. And oddly enough, I found this fact to be really interesting. Michael Schumacher still has the fastest lap in this race. And
that is incredible.
I think it was the race's first ever race in Formula One that Schumacher set that record, and it still hasn't been beat.
I think our note said 2004.
2004, and I believe that's when the Grand Prix began in Shanghai.
That is actually pretty incredible.
So the fact that they still haven't touched it is pretty crazy.
Well, I don't know if it will be something, for this specific race weekend.
I highly doubt it, given the way the cars
work. So we're going to give it another year for that. But talking about Schumacher, we have Nick Schumacher, and he's actually the son. He's actually racing this weekend, but at the IndyCar Grand Prix of Arlington, just literally outside, backyard this weekend.
So Formula One fans, of course, his dad, Michael Schumacher, but Mick was a reserve driver for Mercedes.
Yes.
He was a driver for Haas. It didn't really work out that well. But now he's in IndyCar, and he was making the rounds. He was at Cowboy Stadium.
Yeah, we saw
doing a little PR.
Yes, we saw a few posts, and the cool thing is that he is actually racing, and he seems quite happy during his whole tour, and now racing for IndyCar. So we can wait to see what he does this weekend. So
it's going to be exciting.
It's going to be exciting.
But another thing, Lewis Hamilton, we mentioned it before. He had a good showing last year in the sprint race.
Mm-hmm.
He's won the race the most times out of anyone, 6 times.
Yeah.
So if the Ferrari is competitive, Lewis Hamilton, he might be a strong pick.
He has to get on pole.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Last season, Oscar Piastri did win the race.
Yeah.
McLaren will probably be good here. Mercedes will be good here. The top 4 teams should be really good, and we won't have as much of the battery toggling and harvesting and all the kind of games that had to be played in Australia. It won't be as prevalent here in Shanghai. So hopefully we see a little more actual racing this time.
Yeah.
But with that said, let's jump into why the people are actually here and get into the predictions for the Shanghai Chinese Grand Prix.
Right. So from last race, I think I did pretty okay.
Yeah. Last race, you did well. You were all in on George Russell and Mercedes. Of course, I was Ferrari'd up, but yeah, I think both teams are going to be highly competitive in this race. And let's go to sprint qualifying. Obviously, there's only going to be one practice session, which is in about an hour.
About an hour. So we need to finish this right now.
So there's going to be one practice session, and then in a few hours from that, there will be the sprint qualifying.
Okay.
And so we won't have a ton of time to see everybody, and they'll have a little bit of time to kind of get their feet wet, but won't have a ton of data to go off of.
Right.
So I imagine.
So we're a little like going in blind.
And so are the teams, it sounds like.
Let's just start.
So for one, who's going to put it on pole? Who is your prediction to put it on pole for the sprint quali?
Okay, so the sprint pole. Let's do. Okay, I'm still going to go with George.
Okay, you're remaining true.
Yeah. I mean,
at this rate, you're going to predict him to win every race.
George.
He'll love that.
King George. Okay.
Okay now. Come on.
I mean, he's British. So anyways, we'll do George just for that. But however, I'm going to change it up. But for now, I'm doing George.
Okay, George to put it on pole, and then who's going to round out your podium?
So after that, I'm going to put Max up there.
Wow, okay.
I'm really like putting my faith in this whole thing that everything's gonna go right for them.
I think we talked Max up so much that it may have swayed you.
No, we were looking at it since last episode. I talked about how even though things didn't went well, the car seems to have the speed. So we just need nothing to happen, nothing bad, no mistakes to happen. And I really want to put him in second just for the qualifying. I mean, the sprint. Sprint's qualifying.
The sprint qualifying. The bad thing is the power unit, at least it won't be a problem during the sprint quali. But it being a new power unit, we just don't know how. We hope it's reliable, but yeah, for a sprint quali, I like Max.
Okay, 2 Max. And 3, I'm gonna do. Let's do. Antonelli.
Okay, so you're going George Russell, Max Verstappen, and Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah.
So 2 Mercedes to qualify in the top 3.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm going a different route here.
Of course.
So, of course, I believe the Mercedes are going to be really fast and probably the fastest. But we were just talking about Lewis Hamilton. We were just talking about the Ferraris. So, to put it on pole for the sprint quali, I'm going with Lewis Hamilton.
Okay.
It's this year I've just become a Lewis Hamilton fan, I
Hey,
guess.
there's nothing wrong with that.
New year, new regulations, and I guess new support for Lewis Hamilton. But so Lewis Hamilton is going to put it on pole going into the sprint race. George Russell in P2, and then Leclerc in P3.
Okay.
So 2 out of 3 Ferraris for me, 2 out of 3 Mercedes for you.
Okay.
So let's, with that said, jump into the sprint race.
Okay.
Tell us who your
El
Jefe is in the sprint race.
Of the sprint race. I'm going to say I want to have Verstappen up there.
Wow. Okay. So Verstappen is going to go toe-to-toe with George Russell, and he is going to come out ahead.
Yeah.
They've got a little bit of a history, a little bad blood, I guess you could say. But I saw an interview, it may have occurred today, where George Russell basically came out and said if he could have any teammate right now on the grid, he would pick Max Verstappen because the best test the best.
Oh.
So maybe we'll get a little preview of that.
Okay, so Matt, for second, I want to do, let's go with Lewis.
Okay, Lewis in second. Okay, let me get this right. You're predicting that neither Ferrari qualifies in the top 3 yet. Lewis is going to come in second in the sprint race.
Yes.
So that means there's going to be some chaos at the front. We know this. I will say this, though. We know that the Ferrari, just looking at how the testing went, looking at the first race, their starts are incredible.
Yeah.
So if Lewis does, in your hypothetical here, if he does qualify 4th, he could very well shoot up to the front with how quick that Ferrari is off the start.
I mean, we saw Leclerc last race.
The marriage boost was incredible.
So, I mean, it could happen. Yeah. We don't know if we'll see Cam there, but...
Okay, so Verstappen and Hamilton in P2.
Yeah, and then George.
And George in P3. Yeah. Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go with Lewis Hamilton to win the sprint race for the 2nd consecutive season.
Okay.
I think the Ferrari is going to be fast. There are rumors that Ferrari is bringing the Macarena wing that actually opens up and reverses.
Oh, wow.
Yes, upside down.
Is that legal?
No, it's innovative.
Oh,
it's not
that's
only,
what we call that?
Not only is it legal, it's innovative.
Wow, okay.
And, we can shit on the regulations and kind of some of the stuff going on with these new cars, but Ferrari is saving Formula One with this innovation, and it's going to propel Lewis Hamilton to a sprint race victory.
Okay.
In P2, I'm going with George Russell.
Okay.
I think the Mercedes is really strong.
So you don't hate him that much?
I don't hate George Russell. I'm not the biggest fan, as I've said probably on every podcast we've done so far. But I think the Mercedes...
we don't hate anybody. We just like to talk.
We like to have fun with it.
Yeah.
But George Russell in P2 and then Leclerc in P3. So I think mine stayed
Your
the exact
boy is
same.
staying in third.
So I think from my sprint quality to my sprint race predictions, they're exactly the same.
Okay. You know why I put Max up there for this sprint race?
Why?
Not only because I want to see what the car can do, but he needs the points.
Yeah, he does. He finished 6th. He only has 8 points right now in the Drivers' Championship. He's already 17 points behind Russell.
Yeah.
If the Red Bull gets off to a slow start and the Mercedes pads the points, it could be too late already.
Yeah. So I definitely want him to be up there, and he needs to get those points because we need him to stay excited. We need to,
we don't need Max going anywhere. Formula One doesn't need it. The fans don't need it. We don't need it.
He's still pretty young. Come on, we still have Alonso on the grid, so he has quite a lot of career still left in him.
So let's get into the actual quali now.
Okay.
Does it change for you at all? Do you think the drivers and the teams look at this sprint quali and say, okay, what did we learn going into the actual quali? What adjustments can we make? Do you think it changes at all, or do you think it remains relatively chalk and stays the same?
Well, what is the time lapse? Like, how many hours does it still have from
So you'll have roughly less than a day.
Okay.
So the way that the schedule works, you've got FP1 tonight. You then have the sprint quali early in the morning.
Okay.
So at 2 a.m. tomorrow. Then you have the sprint race. And then a couple hours later, you have the qualifying.
Okay. So
the teams will be able to learn, but how many changes can you make? You can play with the setup a little bit, but how many changes can you actually make in that shorter time?
I mean, I don't think you can make that many because I think at that point you already have a good record or data from your environment, the track, how your tires really like.
The DEG and all that, how to get the tires up to temperature, the battery.
Even like your competitors, obviously you can see how the teams are doing. So I don't think you can do much unless there is maybe a crash that happens or anything like that within the car, but nothing like a major, like a change or power unit or anything like that.
So what are your predictions then?
So my predictions for the actual race qualifying.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna say it's just a gamble because I honestly haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All you really have to go off of are the track characteristics and then what you saw last week.
Yeah. So again, I think I'm going to go with George.
I guess I'm gonna have to buy you a Mercedes head at this point.
Please do.
Maybe next episode you'll see her in a Mercedes.
Please sponsor us. I model the car. But yeah, I mean George will have to be for qualifying.
Okay, George Russell.
Yeah, so he'll be up there. Let's do Matt.
Okay, George and Max. So you're staying relatively the same.
And then let's do Lewis.
Okay, so Lewis is the one that gets in the actual qualifying for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went George, Max, then Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to stay the same two here. Lewis Hamilton in P1. So to start the Chinese Grand Prix, Lewis will be starting from the front in my prediction. George Russell and Leclerc. So I'm staying the exact same.
Exact same. Okay.
As much as I want to put stock in Verstappen, I think right now the Mercedes and the Ferrari are a little bit ahead. We haven't even really talked about McLaren. The only McLaren mention has been that Lando and his girlfriend broke up. So obviously we're not as high, even though Piastri won the last race.
Yeah.
I just didn't think McLaren had all that much pace. I think the Red Bull are every bit as good as the McLaren right now.
Right.
And I think
we're gonna
Ferrari
have
and Mercedes are a step ahead.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to see how they perform specifically throughout this qualifying and the sprint race and everything to really have a little more knowledge exactly how they're gonna move up the ladder for the championship. But they're not that far behind. So even today, Oscar Piastri came out. Obviously, He was like, please don't mention last race. Of course, that really hurt.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Before the season, you asked if Isaac Hadjar was going to cry. I could have seen it happening for Piastri there. That was pretty brutal.
It was terrible. Let's just forget about it. I think that really pushes him to really do really well for this upcoming race. So who knows? Maybe he'll make it to the top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that said, let's get into El Jefe of the week.
El Jefe of the week. All right, start.
Okay, yeah. We don't want to hear George Russell's name again. Let me break that up just a little bit. Lewis Hamilton is going to lead from start to finish all weekend. So,
wow.
The sprint race, going to win it.
Okay.
P1 in qualifying, P1 in the race. Lewis Hamilton is going to be El Jefe of the week and show everybody that he's back.
That he's the GOAT.
Let's not go that far. But Lewis Hamilton is going to be back in the winner's circle in Shanghai for number 7.
I can only actually hope that is the actual outcome because he has been waiting for it. He had to go through that terrible season last year. Yeah. And even the previous season with all the purposing and his car, it was just a terrible car with Mercedes that obviously, pushed him to move to Ferrari.
Right.
Ferrari was just not it last year. So hopefully this is his year and he's back to literally winning races. And specifically this Shanghai track, it seems like Shanghai really loves him.
Yeah,
and he has a really good
loves Shanghai.
Yeah, and he has really good fortune in Shanghai.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Kim Kardashian may be lucky. I don't know at this point. Maybe
we'll see.
Let's not go too far.
We'll see. She makes an appearance.
So Lewis Hamilton in P1. P2, I'm going with George Russell.
Okay.
And in P3, I'm staying the same all week, baby.
Oh my gosh.
It's Leclerc. So
you're making it too easy.
A double podium for Ferrari. George Russell wedged in between. And Lewis Hamilton is El Jefe of the week.
Because what is it? The year of the fire horse?
It's the year of the fire horse, and what better way to start than a Ferrari winning in Shanghai?
All right. That sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good, but I cannot go the same way as you.
I like the narratives. So.
I need to challenge you once in a while.
Okay, go ahead. We know who you're picking.
Well, actually, let's just change it a bit.
Okay.
Even though I've been a good supporter of George.
Let me just remind you who you picked in qualifying. You went George Russell.
It's okay.
Verstappen.
It's okay.
And Hamilton. Okay.
It's okay. It's not going to be George.
Okay.
Because I'm staying with Max.
Okay.
All right. Max is going to be up there. He is hungry to get those points. And he cannot just be like, yeah, I'm going to leave it again for freaking George. No, he's not like that. He's going to fight for it. And as long as nothing happens, knock on wood. But yes.
Okay.
Max P1.
Max Verstappen.
The Jefe of the week.
El Jefe of the week.
That will be a good comeback.
That would be. Okay, so P2 for you.
P2. Let's do Lewis.
Okay, Lewis Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and in P3?
I'm going to do Antonelli.
Oh, what happened? Does George Russell crash out of this race?
I don't know. I don't want to say. Who knows?
You're saying it like you know something. Like this is predestined.
In my visions, in my night, in my dreams.
I don't know. Okay, so
it's witchcraft, baby.
So you have Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, and Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, I feel like you've got some strong takes here. What is your no manches bold take of the week?
My no manches bold take of the week. I mean, I don't think it will happen, but let's just say that what about if George crashes?
So George Russell doesn't finish the race?
Yeah. Well, let's say no crashes. Maybe something happens.
So George Russell DNFs is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That probably would say no lunches
because I mean, right now they're being powerful. They're like, oh yeah, the car, the regulations, everything. It's like, amazing, but you never know. Maybe the Chinese have put some bad juju, you know?
Okay, let's not. That's a whole other podcast, and we're not going to dive in.
All right.
Okay, the No Munches bold take of the week is going to be that Max Verstappen has a power unit failure.
No, don't do that to me. Don't bring the bad juju into our house.
I didn't want to do that. Of course, it would make us say no munches.
Yeah.
Both would.
I mean, that's too much bad luck.
It is, but it's going to be a tough track. We don't know a lot about the Red Bull power unit. Obviously, we saw Isaac Hadjar and his struggle with the power unit. And so
I'm not claiming it. Specifically for this year, I actually wore red for Lunar New Year, okay? I follow all the things to get my good luck. I have given everything for this podcast and everything to win for Max Verstappen. I have set Max Verstappen for the whole weekend. He's going to be a champion this weekend.
Okay. That's my no munches bold pick of the week.
That's not going to happen.
I hope it doesn't. I'm not acting like I know anything. So sorry, Max, if this does happen.
Yes.
Clearly
blame it on him.
My wife tried really hard to manifest this for you. But yeah, I think that's going to do it.
All right. I think that's it.
All right. Well, guys, we'll talk to you after the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah, it has to be it because
we're running out of time.
We're running out of time and P1 is about to start. Thank you so much, everybody, again, for watching and listening to us. Again, we love interacting with you guys. So if you see any of our random reels, please like and comment, share. Some of you are actually quite hilarious. So I am quite excited to see your feedback when it comes to any of the content that we create.
Yeah.
We're producing them like crazy. Hopefully, we get into the rhythm of creating content and specifically how is it going to work with all these races and schedule and everything.
And life.
Yeah, and life.
And sometimes life does. Unfortunately, we don't like to admit that there is life outside of Formula One, but there is.
There is. But anyways, thank you so much. Please like, follow, subscribe, and yeah, give us a feedback.
Yeah. And let's go Ferrari, baby.
Let's go. See ya.